Nur zur Info, also Video und Audio ist etwas versetzt auf Hangout bei dir.
Interessant. Macht nichts. So, interessant. I think we are already live. Macht nichts. So, interessant. Yeah. Okay. Let us just wait and keep it on until the people join. Hello Milan, welcome.
Hi.
Please be aware that we are live streaming this today.
Okay.
We are the early birds. 2 minutes too early for everything.
How are you, Emin?
I'm very well. How are you, Milan? Where are you right now?
I'm in the tech park in Sofia. Just got out of the blockchain brunch that
Great.
Eternity Ventures organized.
Great. I'm here in Vaduz in Liechtenstein. Maybe you can show. Can you see something? I have to go to the window, I guess. It's too bright.
Cool. Quite nice view.
Yep. Well, there you go. You see the castle.
Yeah. Great.
Hello, Pivo. Hello, Stojan.
Hi.
We're live streaming this, just that everybody is aware. Hello, Pega. Welcome, Andrea. Do we have someone from the core team representing today from the protocol team? I think SergEE is not available. Maybe someone else can take his role. I will quickly try. Please, everyone mute your microphone also. Then when you're not speaking, perfect.
Emin, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly well.
Great. Can I be towards the beginning?
Of course.
Okay, thanks.
We are also live streaming this, and I'm also starting the live stream already, just that you're aware. Don't make crazy stuff. Let me quickly ping Luca and Michal from the protocol team, if one of them could join and give a little insight too. Let me share the link with them.
Hello.
SergEE is here. Perfect. I thought you're not joining, but you are here, so I don't need to bother Luca or Michal. Perfect. So it's 12:01, and it's also okay if people join later as we go one by one through all attendees. It's the 19th week. In the next, so it's a very interesting time because our first governance proposal voting is live and people are voting. It seems to work fine. We have the token migration basically happening within these days, and upcoming Fortuna hard fork. Also, the teams have been working very busy and very well. Most work went into the core protocol development, as we're also having a lot of people committing more or less full time to it. The second most hours in the past week was with the base app team. and then it goes through the different SDKs, the online IDE playground, and so on. So I will just give the word to Stoyan at first, who is coordinating our base wallet development. So Stoyan, please give us an insight about your past week.
Sure, thank you. So in the weeks before, we focused a lot on doing the work for the voting app, which means that we had put a lot of things on hold that were sort of maintenance and necessary improvements. And so this past week, the dev team has mostly been resolving them. I'm going to post a link in the chat, and you can later include it in with the forum message to see the actual details. Some of these are potential security vulnerabilities, some are just UI improvements. In addition to that, we were able to move to external testing for the iOS test flight environment and for the Android Play Market. So I have created a forum post with the links to the downloads, as well as a form for people to provide their feedback. Everything is in this forum post. I will also post a link to it so people can come, and please, anyone who's listening or reading this or watching this, have a look at the link and provide your feedback on the base app. We also made a dedicated Telegram group specifically for this discussion. So we're going to be incorporating much of some of the user input that we get into future releases. And another thing that we did this week is we, as mentioned previously, we're switching to a regular release schedule where we release on all three platforms, which is web, iOS, and Android, at the end of each sprint. And so we're kind of adjusting to this new format. We have a board where people could see what's going into the next release, but right now it's a bit difficult to share this board. So I can't share what's in the release, but what I can share with you is what we're working on this sprint, and I'll also paste this link in the chat. And that's more or less it. Expect next week another release from us.
Great, this is really nice. This is not always the case when we talk about the protocol, for sure, of course, but also lots of things are happening on protocol level. So I will just directly come to you, Sergey. Also, I know the past week has been quite busy, but everything looks as we are on schedule. But please give us your insights to it.
So, as you correctly said, it looks to be that we have everything on schedule. So today, actually, is the day when we initiate our freeze on consensus breaking changes. So like today is the last consensus breaking changes merged into the master. So I mean, the only two things like consensus relevant which are remain open are the result of the vote, but all the code which is needed to implement the result is already in the master, so it will be just a change in the internal setting file. And the other one is the result of the token migration. That will also be merged into the master, I think on the 15th or 16th of May. But everything else is finalized. So now we proceed with removing deprecated APIs, which is basically like user API breaking changes, testing, stabilizing, and preparing us for the Fortuna hard fork.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this update. And coming to deprecated endpoints and stuff like this, I think Andrea can say a few words to it, as you are overlooking most of the current work on the different SDKs. And yeah, of course, it's a challenge for you to always keep also up with the rapid changes that we still do in many different areas in the protocol. So please give us an insight about your work past week and what's currently on your plate or your team's plate.
Yes, so we are of course following the core development. For what are the deprecated endpoints, the SDKs are already, the current version, they already support, they already adapt these changes. And for what we are working now in the SDKs, for the JavaScript, the work is mostly related to the ACI interface for contracts. For Python SDK, we are working on state channels, and also for Go SDK, being done on contracts. In general, for the three SDKs, for the Elixir SDK that probably Philip is going to talk about, we are preparing for the major release of the node that is scheduled for later this month. Other than that, we have been working on, as usually, on the maintenance for both SDKs, the CI for ourselves, and infrastructure and deployment of some applications. At the end, I also want to add some note about the middleware. There are some additions that have been added lately this week, and those are related to storing and serving the call info object for contact calls, and for serving the history of call of queries and responses for oracles. Also, the documentation has been updated. These changes are not been released yet, but they're going to be released probably for the next sprint.
Perfect. Thank you very much for also giving the update for the middleware. We know John is, I think, traveling today, so he cannot attend himself. You have pointed out that Pivo is also kind of coordinating the work on the Elixir SDK, so I will jump to him. And also Pivo, you can also say a few words maybe to the voting. Everything looks fine. I think you also have published some scripts on GitHub for verification. Maybe you can say a few words to this too.
Yes, so let's talk first about the Elixir SDK. We finished, the last week, we finished up the high-level contracts module to make contracts way easier for developers to use and integrate with their Elixir code. And also we integrated the standalone Sophia compiler in there to support the newest and upcoming features. We also finished work on the spend transaction or accounts module to use this with ease, and started work. It's almost finished now. We started at the beginning of the week about the naming and Oracle systems to support them as simple as with the contracts, as you know it from the other SDKs. And we did some fixes on our continuous integration and testing using Travis CI to run a local æternity node so that we have more control over what happens in our tests, that they run faster, and for example, that can just register names without spamming the testnet. And I highly encourage everybody to check it out on GitHub, try it, and follow our progress on GitHub. We will soon have our first released version of it.
Very nice.
About the voting app, last week we optimized the app for production use and released it on Monday night to be ready for start of voting last Tuesday morning. We did also optimize the integration with different identity providers in the last 2 weeks to really make it as easy as possible to vote with either Ethereum or Eternity, and then using AirGap Vault or Ledger or just the base app, wherever you have your keys. We did a lot of work on the counting scripts to verify that, or to get a result. We do calculate the weighted averages now correctly, and we combined the scripts that we count the votes that happened on the Ethereum and the votes that happened on Eternity together in one final result. And I want to encourage every developer to have a look at this in our GitHub repository. It's all public there. To check out the way we count the votes, to give feedback, or see if anything is unclear with the way we count the votes, or if you see any issues that can arise. Also, in the upcoming days, I will work on a script to count votes on Eternity, like a second version of the script, to make sure that our results are correct.
And also that it's working. You have mentioned in one of the chats that you also do this like one time with the middleware and one time without the middleware. This is still planned, right?
Yes, it's planned that the current script uses the middleware, as it's quite easy to fetch the results from the by help of the middleware. And the next script I do will use only Eternity full node and check every transaction if they are voting transactions, and then count them up so we have the result in case the middleware has some problems.
Perfect.
And we verify that everything was counted correctly, and anybody else could run the middleware himself or could run the Eternity node himself and check the scripts.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And also, I see Andreas here in this call representing the work within the airgap team. And I personally I have tested and checked also the voting integration. And I'm super happy that this works so flawlessly. Thank you again for this, Andreas. What has happened in the airgap space over the past week?
Okay, so thanks. I'm happy to hear that everything worked as intended. So yeah, last week we focused on the voting integration into AirGap, released the first version that allows you to vote same device and also two device approach wise. Then we released the second version with some smaller improvements in the voting, and also added the Chinese translations because that was a requested feature.
Great.
And besides that, we have been working, or are still working hard on upgrading the apps to Ionic 4, the latest version, which should bring some improvements, like for developers, but also for the user performance improvements. We have also been working on the Chrome extension, but this has been slowed down a bit because we would like to release the first version with Ionic 4, and we are planning to do that hopefully today, but maybe in the beginning of next week.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Again, like us, I think like the base app, we encourage everyone to download the AirGap versions, test it, give feedback either throughout the Eternity forum or directly to AirGap. I'm sure you have different channels where people can reach out to you. Happy to have you here in the call. Also, you mentioned the browser extension. Milan is also working on basically wrapping the base app into an extension, and I think it's good that we are going in parallel path here, also to experience all the different issues and can exchange knowledge here. And Milan, how did it went with your work over the past week? Have you done some improvements?
Over the past week, I've been fixing stuff that people pointed out in the forum and in private again, UI bugs and new features. Also, in the next release next week, the browser extension supports warnings and messages that basically ask you to confirm every action that you're making on the extension, like sending or generating wallet or signing a transaction. You'll be able to confirm every action. Also, some work has been done also on the tipping functionality. There is still an oracle had to be made for confirmation of ownership of the website for the tipping functionality, and if not in the next release, probably in the next sprint it will be addressed and it will be finished, and soon we'll have tipping functionality available in the browser wallet. Also, I again ask if some of you or everyone is welcome to test it out and provide feedback, as it is most valuable now. And basically that is for the browser extension.
Perfect. Yeah, I think also we can see this in these calls that a lot of progress is being made, and also when things change, like documentation or just a new version of the extension and so on, I will in the future in those posts that we do in our forum, and maybe also underneath the YouTube video we share on YouTube, I will just link to all the different sources, so people who are interested in the different things can just click on the links and try it out. I think this will also help to drive some people to this work.
And something I forgot to mention: the extension is publicly available in the Chrome Web Store. So if you're using Chromium-based browser like Brave, Google Chrome, or Chromium for Ubuntu, or Opera, you can go install it and test it out.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Milan. And everyone is who develops smart contracts is using tools that are coming from Martin's team, and also the Playground IDE, where I have seen updates in the past week. At least it was pinging in the different channels. So Martin, please give us a quick wrap up about the past week and what's happened there.
Okay, so from the Dev2 team, what we have done is we have deployed new version of the Google tools, also known as the Transaction Inspector, with the latest bug fixes and SDK versions. Also, we have released new version of the Blockchain Explorer. We have fixed some issues pointed from the community. Everything is now up and running. Also, the Contracts app is also updated. We have released new version of the Playground with a lot of new features, like the new console. We have improved the notification errors and messages there. Also, some small fixes are also available there. On Forge, what we have done there, we have implemented the local standalone compiler now. When you start your node, we will also have the standalone compiler available, so you won't be dependent on any other compiler. Also, we have fixed some deployment issues there, and currently working on updating some examples and the documentation. Also, we have fixed some of the GitHub vulnerabilities from the libraries that we use on the Playground, and some other features fixes which will be available in the next release. So briefly, this is what we have worked on the past week.
Great. Also a lot to touch, a lot to see, and I think very helpful for everyone who develops. And one person who develops for a very long time is Nikita. He is also here in the chat, also coming from the Ethereum universe, but also like slowly becoming an æternity expert. And in Sophia, you have published an expansion proposal where you thought a lot about how to make life of developers easier while like developing smart contracts and interacting with them. Maybe you can tell us a few words about this and explain it very high level to people, so if they are interested, they can jump into it and give you feedback on this. Nikita, please.
Yes, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, at first I would like to thank Philip Pivo, who was the first one to give some detailed, valuable feedback onto that, which I will answer to today. Everyone else is also highly welcomed and will surely be thanked with a beer or two to give some feedback on that. I mean, it's a little bit of a longer read, but it was in my head for a really long time. The issue we face right now is that even with our venture projects, many people are already familiar with building for Ethereum, and they have like a 2 or 3 year advantage of a couple of thousand people in the world learning how to build stuff. And to be honest, like 80% of our features are intersecting with Ethereum. So if we want to convince people to build stuff on Eternity, then we are not in the position to force them to learn things like totally differently and new. So like technology marketing wise, my motivation was to like take what worked really well in the Ethereum world from a semantic syntax perspective. That's what the AX is mostly about, and just add everything, all the cool stuff which we have, and leave it open for like further additions. For example, like we're gonna have to deal with smart contracts in state channels, which is again like complexifying syntax and SDK structure by another order of magnitude potentially. And we have to keep things easy for everyone, right? So if someone says they want to build a blockchain-based application, they shouldn't have to like so they should have really an easy switch to come to Eternity and use our cool features, and not having the trade-off between using a cool blockchain and the blockchain they're already like really familiar building with, right? Like say like this is SQL standard syntax, although like on many different implementations they vary a little bit here and there, you know, but yeah, it's easier for people to handle and fiddle around with stuff that is a little bit familiar already to them without then prohibiting the use of our old syntax and deprecating it. And this is the cool thing about it, right? That's why I said it's just a wrapper syntax, right? So it should be really easy for everyone to get going in 2 or 3 hours for building stuff upon Eternity, right? So for the last 1 or 2 weeks, the other thing that I was also busy with, like just filling up holes that were also neglected in our rush in the process. So now with coordination with the core team, I asked to implement primitives to addresses. So for example, now you can just, for any address variable, just write dot is contract or dot is wallet or dot is oracle, and then see and get a boolean back, true or false, to see what address you're actually dealing there. This will also be important later for developers if you want to send funds to users and not a smart contract. And prior to that, there's news for not implementing it really well, because now we're using it ourselves for the vote. So now even the most skeptic members of a cooperative team should definitely have no reason to doubt about that. Although like the most often question I got asked since joining Eternity was, what would anyone need that for, right? But use case man was always there to the rescue and explained everything in brief detail, why we need certain stuff for certain operations.
Very cool.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Nikita, and you're officially the use case man now, and we are waiting where more use cases and in what problems not only you but of course every decentralized blockchain application developer runs into. And also, I think who thinks a lot about those stuff, for example, not copying your private key to every device that you want to use, is definitely Emil, who is also here in this call and also puts lots of work in these in the expansions to kind of do some future thinking on what problems people could run into and proposing this. So Emil, please give us an update about your thoughts and your work over the past week.
So we had basically a discussion in the forum about expansion 2 the last weeks, and now we have a rewrite of it addressing these issues done by Shupendu. So I would like to encourage everyone to have a look at this again, if now it's addressing all the issues that came up and all the thoughts, and I think it was very, very helpful discussion. Next to that, as Nikita already said, he made one proposal to lower basically the entrance barrier to come develop with Eternity a little bit. That's now also currently in discussion in the forum. And we have one upcoming expansion, while X2 is describing more the way how dApps and wallets interact with each other now that we have like already state that we have multiple wallets for Eternity. We are thinking about solutions, how these wallets could connect with each other, and how also we deal with facts when there's no wallet present, and what could be common standards to deal with that, to ensure that all the different parts of the Eternity ecosystem can talk to each other and to have a good, really good user experience in the end. But this is something we're currently in the discussions, and there will be a proposal later on how this could work. And yeah, so that's it.
Cool.
From
Yeah.
the pension side.
Thank you. I appreciate this work in the also UX from the UX perspective, but also from security perspective. I think most of our users maybe haven't tried it yet, but using the Eternity Base wallet, you can today go on your desktop on base.apps.com, use your mobile wallet, and for example connect to the desktop wallet through a QR code. Some might know this from things like WeChat or WhatsApp when you connect. And I think there are still a lot of challenges, not only to make things safe, but also to make the user experience smooth. And I think this work is very well invested time into moving and making Eternity blockchain and also other blockchains, because people will also learn from our experience more user friendly. Thank you very much for that update. All those updates in one sooner or later end up in our documentation hub, and this is we have change logs, we have new releases, we have breaking changes, we have new tools and new standards coming out. They need to be collected, and they need to get there needs to be a good place to find all this. And Pega, I know you're hustling to get all this stuff together, so please give us some insights about your work in keeping the documentation hub up and running.
Hello from the jungle. And so yeah, this week I improved the landing page with adding the links of all online tools and existing working apps. Later on, my plan is to replace those boring links with nice icons that the user can just click on it. And besides that, I extended the documentation up with sub-modules like we talked already before about the Elixir SDK, but also the Sophia compiler and so on. And currently, I'm discussing with people like Pivo and Martin how we could improve the change logs. And after getting some feedback from the community and extending them with code examples, for example, for a faster and better integration of our users and the community, because some people were a little bit struggling. So yeah, I'm thinking of making a proposal and share it then in the forum. Besides that, I also propose and trying to push that the people from the early core should write a general paper with important questions like what is eternity, what is compared to Ethereum, the birth of eternity, eternity's components, because I think it would make sense if people would read first a general paper with all those answered questions at the documentation hub first, before they get started properly and into all the technical details, which are there already. So this paper should be like a trailer of a nice movie that we are working on. Yeah, so that people should catch, that people get caught in a really small amount of time. So yeah, that's from my side.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for your work and collecting all this. Again, also, I think this is also for you. I mean, we are a very decentralized team and network. So also check out all the links that I will connect from the different people. We haven't, of course, in those meetings, we cannot, on public calls, we cannot cover everything that's going on in the Eternity network. If you look at different communication channels, like also direct communication channels like chats, we have a lot of things going on on a very more detailed level from the Go SDK, from how the Fate VM is expanding. There are daily calls and standards from the different product teams. And also we see great updates, for example, from AE Now, the blockchain explorer from China, or often in the Eternity forum, we see updates in mining software that did some improvements. We do not cover all of these. Also not right now other projects in our network, startups that are working on integrating with Eternity. We will most likely set up another like also larger call in the near future, where we try to invite all those different people from the network. But for now, we went through everyone who attended this call. It's also more than 30 minutes now. I thank you everyone for your update and for your great work. I think it's super interesting and exciting times also, and we do a lot of progress. And I'm looking forward for next Friday to see you all again here in this call. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.